Hi, good evening and good Tuesday, and welcome back. Thanks for being here and being a part of the program. Another day closer to Thanksgiving, a better idea as to what still looks to be a nice, clear, albeit cooler Thanksgiving forecast. We'll talk about dry conditions and sunshine on today's date in our weather history, though, before we talk about the rest of the weather, to give you a little perspective. Beautiful out there today, into the 50s. Back in 2000, though, Jackson recorded a record low, still stands, of 19 degrees on this date. They only recorded a 30-degree high for that day. That 30-degree high, not a record, but the 19-degree low is. They also had a half-inch of snowfall, and that stood as a record until we had about 8/10 of an inch of snowfall in 2008. So, definitely a little difference there when you make the comparison. On tonight's show, going back to where we were, we'll sit down and talk to a local sailor recently returning home from 4 years of service. He was honored with a reception by his family and friends over the weekend. We were invited. An update on a couple of reports in regards to a serious meth case where a woman was charged with endangering the welfare of her grandchild. Actually, an update on the arrest that took place last night for that double murder in Lawrence County. An auto accident earlier today, and the charges that indeed were filed against an Allen Drive apartment resident who still stands accused of setting his apartment on fire. I have an update there for you as well. Before we get to all of our headlines tonight, about another 1.5 million people are expected to, and the weather is certainly helping exacerbate that as well, but that many more expected to take to the roads, the air, whatever modes of transportation they see fit in regards to traveling for Thanksgiving and this holiday weekend. Almost 60 million of us here in the United States are going to travel a minimum of 50 miles or more for the Thanksgiving holiday, and that is about 1.5 million more than usual. On a very local note in regards to your holiday traffic, if you were sitting in the backed up traffic earlier today on Parkway Drive or 114 of the Mountain Parkway in an effort for them to continue work on the Mountain Parkway expansion project, specifically here in Restaurant Row as they were laying blacktop there at what is to be the new intersection, well, you might be glad to know that they are going to take the holiday off as well. Yeah. Currently, construction crews are working on projects actually along more than 15 total miles on the Parkway in Wolf, Morgan, and Magoffin counties. And please, any and all times, be on the lookout for reduced speed, traffic lane changes, anything of that nature. But this week, crews on the Parkway are going to take off and stop work for Thursday and for Friday. In an effort, I'm sure, to give them a chance to spend the holiday with their family and friends, but also in an effort to allow everyone else traveling to do so in an unencumbered manner. So they'll be taking a break after tomorrow, but still use extra caution, they say, while traveling through any portion of the Mountain Parkway in any of the counties so affected. First, an update. A 21-year-old man, as we turn to local and area headlines, was arrested last night just after 5 o'clock, as from what I understand, in regards to the still double murder that's being investigated in Lawrence County that claimed the life of a man and a woman. State police made the arrest last night after the murders of a mother and son, both from the Yellow Creek area of Lawrence County, who were both killed night before last. Coroner Mike Wilson, also of Lawrence County, has since identified the victims as 50-year-old Mary Evans Smith and her son, 35-year-old Randy Sherman Blevins. State police arrested Eldon Muncie, 21, of Buffalo Horn, is his listed address in Martin County, and he's been charged with killing both of the individuals. They've identified or confirmed that Blevins was shot several times. He was the one, as I told you last night, who made it next door into the porch of a neighbor. The neighbor called police when she heard a noise, and Blevins was found dead by police when they arrived just moments later. Then they realized where he lived, and they found his mother dead from a single gunshot wound at the house next door that they lived in together. Both of their bodies have been sent to the state medical examiner's office for autopsies. As far as a link between the three or any or all or motives, authorities have not released any other information at this time. But Muncie does sit lodged in the Big Sandy Regional Detention Center on 2 counts of murder. And another update before we go any further in regards to the man still accused of setting his apartment on fire that also displaced several other residents of the Allen Drive apartments over the course of the weekend. In his interview on yesterday, Sagersville police officer Mike Nichols told us of the pending charges against James Fletcher of Allen Drive, just as a matter of correction. After further investigation, court documents filed on behalf of Officer Nichols indicate that that being Fletcher, was charged with wanton endangerment in the first degree as was expected. However, after further investigation, it was determined that there were 5 individuals, 5 victims of the area of the fire that were displaced or what have you in regards to the situation after Fletcher set fire to first his couch, he says accidentally, and then of course that fire spreading to his apartment and destroying it and causing damage to others. He has since been charged with those 5 counts of wanton endangerment in the first degree instead of the 11 or 12 that were initially expected. He was also charged with trafficking in a controlled substance, as part of his statement indicated that he had traded pills for other pills earlier that evening before the fire. As I covered in last night's report, he told authorities that he had consumed a bottle of wine, a fifth of vodka, or at least a large portion thereof, and taken several different types of pills during the day and night before his apartment caught on fire, the flames of which were noticed by neighbors, some of which we spoke to, helped wake everyone up and get them to safety, while the Sagersville Fire Department, assisted by every other fire department in the county, was able to contain the flames to that one apartment, while others did suffer some smoke and water damage. I'll be right back. Are you looking to visit or come home to Sagersville to relax, reconnect, or maybe ride the Dawkins Trail? Then you have to stay in our luxurious lofts over downtown that comfortably and conveniently accommodate parties of 1 to 10 with king beds, beautiful decor and furnishings, and walls adorned with the city's history. There's absolutely nowhere else like the Mortimer Lofts. Book directly through VRBO. Find them on Facebook at the Mortimer Lofts of Sagersville or call 606-349-3299. Now to the scene of a single vehicle auto accident earlier today on Route 7. A small passenger car struck a utility pole. It sent the driver to the hospital and caused electrical issues for those who lived in the area. Rescue, EMS, law enforcement responded to this accident earlier today. A vehicle traveling north on Route 7 apparently veered off of the roadway. Investigating officers with the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department noticed where tire marks went into the grass, and then you can see the impact that the vehicle had with the utility pole. Serious damage done to the vehicle. The driver, the only occupant, a female, which was conscious and appeared to have suffered non-life-threatening injuries, but certainly serious enough to have been taken to the hospital. She was, again, the only person in the car. No other vehicles were involved. The collision with the utility pole did cause issues, however, as insulators at the top of the pole were broken and wires spanning from each direction or in each direction crossed with each other and shorted out service to many residents for some time. Other top stories still coming in just a few moments, and it's a good one. Right now, a quick update on a drug-related case where an adult was charged back earlier this month, around the 3rd or 4th day of November, if I'm not mistaken, with endangering the welfare of a minor and other serious charges. Following a report that I ran on the arrest of a Paintsville grandmother who was stopped by local police in Sagersville just earlier this month and charged with serious drug-related charges, including trafficking and possession of methamphetamine and other drugs, and endangering the welfare of a minor for a bag of crystal meth and drug paraphernalia that she put in her 4-year-old grandchild's potato chip bag and fast food bag, both of which the child was in the process of eating from. Those charges were dismissed in court last week after the arresting officer was not present for court proceedings. However, in speaking with Officer Mike Nichols of the Sagersville Police Department, he says that most assuredly the case against Sandra Baldwin, 47, of Paintsville, is ongoing.
In the case of Sandra Baldwin, last week I was in-service training all week. It was a mandatory state training. And I received a call that that case got dismissed, and where I hadn't been there. And that's, normally sometimes they do that. But to let you know that it will be picked up. It has been picked up, and the case has been worked, and it will be sent to the grand jury for possible indictment. I will be talking to the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, but at this time, that case has been picked up and will be took to the grand jury.
From there, here's a few reminders and some new announcements on tonight's Magoffin Farm Bureau community calendar. And I think it even starts off with another birthday.
Yeah, I'm told that Dwayne is celebrating a birthday, and that's Dwayne Reisner, and with a lot of love from his wife, Jocelyn Reisner. Happy birthday. Today, the 21st day of November, to Dwayne Reisner. Happy, happy birthday to you. Going on, don't forget Rumpke will be running as usual every day this week, but just extra early on Thanksgiving Day. Keep that in mind. So get it out extra early on Thursday, and they will pick it up before they close up shop a little earlier in lieu of the holiday, but running every day this week with that being the only change. A benefit has been set for December the 3rd at the Community Center in Sagersville. They're going to have hot dog meals, benefit for Maisie Puckett, who has, from what I understand, been placed in a coma after heart bypass surgery, and Janet Smith diagnosed with, it says, stage 3 cancer. They're going to have a special gospel singing, concession stands, a live auction. If you'd like to help in any form or fashion, 349-1267. And don't forget, Every Child Matters. Dalton's Elves and Silent Nights are helping make sure every child has a special Christmas. If you know a family that might need their support, call or contact via Facebook any of the elves at the bottom of your screen. Don't forget, they will be, of course, at the Sagersville Hometown Christmas Parade, as will a host of other people throughout the community. This just gives me a good reminder. That is set for December the 2nd. And, folks, that will be here before you know it. Hope the nice weather holds out. Hope that you use our calendar anytime you've got a birthday, anniversary, or an announcement like you just heard. Doesn't cost anything. You just have to tell me about it so I can tell everyone else. Turning to local obituaries, a service provided daily by our friends from the Magoffin County Funeral Home. 84-year-old Willard Reisner of Lima, Ohio, passed away on yesterday, formerly of Magoffin County. He was married to Pearlie Reisner, who preceded him in death. He's survived by his son Marvin Ray and daughters Mary Sue Puckett and Mildred Fetters. Visitation will be tomorrow after 6, all day Thursday, and up until services, and they'll begin Friday at 1, all from the Magoffin County Funeral Home. And burial follows at the Reisner Isaac Cemetery at Punchin. To get high-speed internet on their state-of-the-art fiber optic network for all of your home and business solutions, or to watch TV without a contract on over 200 digital channels with superb quality, or stay connected with family and friends with 24/7 telephone service you can always depend on, contact Foothills Broadband today. Or just click on their link to the right to find out how they're working to provide the latest in communications at affordable prices with exceptional service at Foothills Broadband.
You know, sometimes you can meet someone or talk to them for the first time and get a quick read on the type of person you think they are. I had that feeling over the course of the weekend while covering this next story. A story about a local young man recently home from the Navy. He struck me as very personal, very intelligent, certainly very driven, and a pleasure to talk to and spend some time with. And obviously, those are all similar sentiments felt by family and friends who surprised Amos Patrick with a reception following 4 years of service to our country in the United States Navy. The following is a story of a local 25-year-old young man, a 2010 graduate of the Magoffin County High School, recently home from 4 years of service to our country. He was received with honor and excitement, to say the least, this Saturday by his family and friends who wanted him to know how proud of him they were. Patrick was welcomed by banners and cheers aligning Church Street in Sagersville, with no one, I'm sure, more elated than his mother, who says that one day in college, after graduating high school, he was in school in Lexington, and he decided, and he told her, that he was going to become a sailor, to which he did immediately.
He just came to me one day and he's like, I've made up my mind, I'm going to the Navy. And it went from that to he joined quickly. And I was pretty sick about it. Boot camp was awful because you have no contact whatsoever. We went to Chicago and we went to his graduation there. And from there, he was stationed in Jacksonville, Florida. And that was okay. But then after that, he had sea duty and he was stationed in Rota, Spain. And he was on the USS Carney, which is a battleship destroyer. So where the action was, what everybody was seeing on the news, he was there. So it was pretty, and sometimes he was out there for months before, other than fueling up, before he came to land. Very little contact, but the last year, When he ranked up to E5, he had to live in an apartment. They were no longer allowed to live in the barracks, so he lived in an apartment in Rota, Spain. So he literally has ridden a bicycle all over Magoffin County from Middle Fork to Half Mountain to Spain. And he had his bike was one of the first things he had shipped home.
Patrick was 19 when he joined the Navy, and all 19 of those years he spent knowing that he wanted to join the military, and talking with a few close friends, some who had even served, helped lead him in that direction. And the things this young man has done and the places he has seen have all lent to shaping an outstanding individual, sailor, and human being.
I was stationed in Jacksonville, Florida for my first 2 years. And then there I did my first 6 month deployment in the Middle East. Spent about 6 months in the Middle East, came back to Florida. I did a few random patrols here and there. And then I moved to Rota, Spain. I was forward deployed there for a year and a half, 2 years. And from there I covered about 22 countries after moving to Spain. So we moved around a lot. I did see some camel racing in Abu Dhabi. Lakin, my girlfriend, she came I think to Spain to visit me 4 times. She came to Jacksonville twice. And we took a road trip to Portugal once, and we went kayaking out in Portugal. That was a lot of fun, just the two of us. We just kind of explored the cities. Rota, Spain, which is where I lived, where I was stationed. I was fortunate. It was just across the basin, you could say, just across the bay from one of the oldest cities that are still established, I guess, in the world. Cadiz. It's just a ton of history, castles everywhere, a lot of cool stuff that it's kind of crazy that most people only think about, vacationing there, and then I was able to live there, so I was fortunate.
And when I asked him, as hard as it was, I'm sure, to do considering all of his worldly travels, but when I asked him to pick 2 of his favorites in regards to his service in the Navy and his travels around this world, it was training with the Royal Navy and Scotland that he will always hold in the highest of regards.
Working with the Royal Navy, we did a training exercise. It was called FOST, Flag Officer Sea Training, and they went through back in the 80s, mostly 80s and early 90s. They had a lot of personal issues, I guess you could say, that helped them become experts on damage control, on just managing damage that they could take to the ship during wartime. So these guys, who were senior personnel, they were all 50s and 60s mostly. They came and gave us some very vigorous training for, and they were rough on us. I'm not gonna lie, they were really rough. But they were, they always told us that there's going to be some harsh words exchanged most likely, but just take it for what it's worth. Try to enjoy it as much as possible. Try not to get mad, and make it a learning experience and not a fighting experience, I guess. So that was my favorite as far as working with foreign countries, for sure.
And as you can imagine, he has a mother who couldn't be any more proud and who couldn't be at the same time any less surprised of all that he's accomplished.
He has just always been a number 1 kid. He started working when he was like 14, and I never had trouble with him. He just always, when he sets a goal, he goes after it. And when he told me that he was going to join the Navy, of course I was worried and beside myself, mainly just because of his mother. I wouldn't be there to protect him from whatever, that he may face. But I knew he could handle it. It was never that. And he won several awards. His write-ups from his chief, they're just amazing if you could read what all they put. His work ethic and his drive. I never expected anything different, but with that being said, I'm just over the moon proud of him. And just how he carries himself and how he maintains himself, and he just, I don't know, he's different. He was always different. And he went after it and got it. I'm just elated.
It made me appreciate the little things a lot more, that's for sure. Family and friends, I guess I did take it for granted as often as I'm able to see my family and friends now. I went for 4 years there, it was the times that I could do that were few and far between. And the older, especially, you know, just guys and gals my age, the older that you get, the less time that you had to spend with them. So now I definitely take advantage of those moments. Just like today, it's great to have all my family and friends together in one spot. It's awesome.
Patrick lives in Moorhead. He's been enrolled there for the past few months. He is right now an exercise science student. That's pre-physical therapy. And as I understand, Moorhead State University is soon to have a physical therapy school in their midst, and I suspect he will be one of their first and I'm sure most brightest students.